Greetings, royal family. Okay, Sisters is back, okay? And I thought, here we go, let's see what Tyler is going to come up with. But I have to say, this episode was very interesting from beginning to end. They could have left out some parts, but whatever. All right, so let's get into it. Thank you for clicking on the video. If this is your first time here, welcome to the royal family. If you are a returning royal family member, you already know how this thing goes. All right, so we're on episode 10 of Sisters. The little mid-season break is over. So the episode opens up right where it picked off, and that private investigator lady is still holding up that picture, okay? The picture of Danni and Crazy Gary holding hands walking in the park. So Danni, the PI lady, wants an explanation. Like, you tell me what's going on. And Danni is not trying to give her any explanation and ask the lady like what she wants, as if she would be able to bribe this private investigator to get out of this mess that she put herself in. And she tells Andi, look, I just want to help you because this guy is scum and he is playing you. So Andi doesn't trust her. So Sister Private Investigator basically tells Andi that she's being played, okay? And it's kind of like, duh, private investigator lady, we already knew that, tell us something new, you know what I mean? Anyway, so Andi is not trying to listen to the lady at all. The lady is trying to tell her something. She's trying to give her information, and she's like Andi's like telling her to get out of her office and all this other stuff. So I'm saying to myself, will you at least listen to what it is that she has to say? But a part of me is like, So the private investigator lady, she starts breaking down Gary's schedule, and she's showing Andi her pictures and some other photos too. So Tina Rogers, who is a whole other woman, okay, that is not Gary's wife, and it's certainly not Andi. So Tina Rogers, Gary has been seeing her for 3 months. This is what the private investigator is telling her and showing her pictures of. So he basically sees Andi in the morning before he goes to the gym, and then he sees Tina every afternoon. So the private investigator's theory is this. Gary knew that Andi was a divorce attorney, and he pretty much knew that his wife was going to file for divorce. So he wanted Andi to have control of the divorce to basically help him out. This is the PI's theory. Now, that lady that referred Gary's wife, because Andi's like, I don't know, what is her name? Gary's wife client. That's what I call her. Wife client was referred to me by, another one of my clients. Gary pretty much knows all about that. And she put something down on the desk to prove that. So Andi pretty much has 24 hours to figure out what she is going to do, because wife client is now expecting the private investigator and Andi, who she thinks are working together to bust Gary. She's basically wants to, proceed with the divorce. And she is ready to have a meeting to see what PI and Andi, her divorce attorney, have come up with. So the PI is just telling her, look, you got 24 hours to figure out what you want to do, because I work for wife client, these are my words. I work for wife client and I got to produce something. So, this is crazy. So my mind is blown. So I'm like, okay, Tyler, did you have some help? No, we know he didn't. We know Tyler doesn't like anybody helping him right. Anyway, so remember now, Andi is still representing the wife client. She's still her client. So I was hesitant to trust the PI lady because she is working for the wife client. And she just kept saying that Andi's a good person. Why did, that's why she wants to help her. And it's like all throughout this season, random people have just been saying how good of a person Andi is. Like, I don't know. Is that sarcasm? I mean, I'm not saying she's not a good person, but I mean, she did carry on an affair with a married man. Anyway, so we move on to, Sabrina and Maurice. Don't care. I really don't care. I skimmed through their scenes. In a nutshell, Maurice, remember, Maurice works at the bank with Sabrina. Maurice is still talking about Calvin's body. Calvin is the man that Sabrina is seeing. And Sabrina is still asking Maurice if she thinks that Calvin is gay. This conversation is so 2019. We got to move on. So we move on to Danni and Zach, right? So Zach is still emotional at the fact that he slept with Danni. He's still doesn't know that Danni made all of this up. She lied about them sleeping together. So they're at work because they work together at the airport. And he's telling her that, he's missing Karen, and he's blaming himself for Karen and his relationship ending. He says, I know she talks to me like trash, but I take responsibility for the things that I've done. And he tells Danni that he has to move out, and that he's planning to do better, and he plans on talking to Karen and telling her how he feels. Now, Zach says he is going to also tell Karen about what he thinks happened with him and Danni. So Danni is really keeping this up. Like, this is really crazy. So he's about to tell Karen, or he plans on going to tell Karen, like, hey, I slipped up and I slept with Danni, but it never happened. And Danni's really keeping this lie alive. And it's just wicked. Like, she looks forward to Karen being hurt over this or mad over this. And it's not funny anymore. Like, now it's not funny. So next up, Calvin calls Sabrina at work. He wants to come over so that they can talk, and she agrees. And Maurice comes to the door in her office, and he pretty much tells her that he was the one that told Calvin to call Sabrina. Anyway, so Aaron and Karen, okay, Miss Stank Attitude. So he shows up at her salon because she's not talking to him, so she's kind of keeping her distance because she's mad. So he shows up to her salon, and he is trying to talk to her, trying to make amends, trying to reconcile. And Karen is just being stank, as usual. But she is being stern. And it's funny because she's being as stern as Aaron seems to be. Like, he takes himself very seriously, and he's very cautious and about the people that he associates with, and he doesn't let people treat him any type of way. So they're one and the same in that aspect. So Karen is hesitant to go out to dinner with him because he asks her out to dinner, and she's playing hard to get. And she makes little jabs, and she makes jokes like, your wife isn't going to show up, is she? And he corrects her and says ex-wife. Remember the crazy lady, his wife, his ex-wife. So then she also takes jabs at him and says, are you going to forget your wallet this time and have to call your ex-wife to bring it to you? So she's getting her little digs in. And Karen, she actually apologizes to Aaron for how she spoke to him. So the plan ends up being, instead of them going out to dinner, Karen invites him over to her house, and she says that she will cook dinner. All right, so Zach shows up in this moment. Aaron wants to get like a shape up or something like that. So she gives him to another a stylist. So he's still in the salon. This is when Zach shows up, okay? And this was so terrible. So she doesn't want to hear anything that Zach has to say. Zach is trying to talk to her. He's coming there with the sad puppy dog eyes, and he's just like, I want to talk to you. And she's just like, no. He wants to go in the back to talk. And she's just like, no, she doesn't want him touching her. She's acting real stank. So she ends up kicking him out. She gets a little bit loud with him, and she ends up yelling at him, and she tells him to, get back on your little bike, because he doesn't have a car. Get on your bike and get out of here and just go. So everyone in the salon is like giggling and laughing. And so embarrassing. I don't know. I didn't like that. But whatever. She didn't want to hear anything that he had to say. She just told him, like, look, we're done. So we move on to see Andi. Now, Andi is still in her office. It's late. And she's pretty much trying to come up with a plan. Her poor assistant is asking her if she's okay. She's snapping on her assistant. So we see her just sitting there, stuck at the office. And everyone is calling her phone. And she is not answering anyone. Okay, so she needs to come up with a plan by tomorrow, because that PI just dropped a bomb on her. And what was interesting to me is Andi knew that Gary was married, right? He filled her head with all these lies about him going to leave his wife, whatever. But what has her upset is that he's seeing someone else and he is using her. I mean, that is messed up, now that I think about it. But girl, you're not innocent in this. But anyway, she's going through. We're not gonna kick Andi while she's down, but should have been prepared with for anything, you know. Anyway, so we move on to Calvin and Sabrina. He shows up and he has new boxer briefs, so he's not wearing lace panties anymore. Big whoop. Back to Karen and Aaron. So he arrives at the house, right? Because they have a dinner date at her house. He arrives to her house for dinner, and he ends up telling her that he is a pastor. You know, he doesn't have his own church. He has a home church, and he is a straight up pastor. So this makes Karen a little bit uncomfortable, and she starts acting weird, you know, because Karen had planned on getting some, basically. So she was continuously calling Andi and just leaving messages on her voicemail saying, Andi, you know, I was going to invite, you know, so-and-so over here. And she needed Andi to kind of talk her off the ledge, I guess, or to kind of co-sign it's okay if she wanted to sleep with Aaron. But when she found out that he was, you know, Pastor Aaron, it just changed everything. It changed her whole tune. So she just put her lust back in the closet once she found out that he was a preacher. So Calvin and Sabrina, now we shift gears. So they're getting it in, they're getting intimate, and they end up talking after they were intimate. And Calvin ends up finding Sabrina's toys under her bed. Now, I promise you, as soon as I seen this scene, I already knew what was coming next. So he's smiling, and she's just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. You found my toys. And he starts smiling, and he tells Sabrina that this will be fun to use. And she's just like, oh, no. And he's talking about he wants her to use the toy on him. So yo, this scene was wild. Like, this scene was so crazy because she actually does it. You know what I mean? And once again, you can see that she is extremely uncomfortable. She wanted to tell him, like, no, that's not what she wanted to do. Once again, she's extremely uncomfortable, and she ends up doing something that she didn't want to do. And honey, he was biting the pillow and kicking his legs. I can't. Tyler, you need some writers. You need some writers. Anyway, Karen and Aaron. I'm just speeding through this because this was a lot. Karen and Aaron. She's acting all weird, and she's being like all distant. She's like, she wore a dress, she's covering herself up, and she's saying praise the Lord and yes God, and quoting, you know, stories from the Bible. It was just a mess. She does get a call from Andi's assistant while they're having dinner, while Aaron and her are having dinner. And her assistant is like, you know, I could really lose my job for this. I'm really nervous. Like, just don't tell Andi that I called you. But she's just telling Karen that something is up with Andi. Like, she was crying in the bathroom earlier. And she stayed here late, and she just stormed out of here. She won't tell me what's wrong, and she's acting like she's not okay. So Karen pretty much cuts the date short with Aaron, which she wanted to do anyway, because she found out that he was a preacher and she wasn't getting anything. So Karen ends up calling Sabrina, and Sabrina ends up calling Danni. So they're all worried about Andi. They're all trying to call her. So they're basically going to go over to her house to see about her. So they're at Andi's house. Karen arrives first, Sabrina, and then Danni. And Andi is sitting there at her counter and in the kitchen or living room or whatever. And she's just not saying anything. She's just staring, and she's not saying a word, but she's kind of like, well, she is crying, like tears are streaming down her face. So Karen and Danni, they begin to argue back and forth. You know, they're throwing jabs at each other. And while they're arguing, Andi pulls out the photos that the private investigator gave her, and she slams them on the counter. And she is just crying and saying, you know, he played me. And Danni says, so you were lying to us, because remember, Andi told them that she was no longer going to be seeing Gary, but Karen was the only one that knew that she was still seeing Gary. And Andi says, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you keep stuff from people and all of this other stuff. And if you would have let me know a long time ago, I could have helped you. So Karen and her are going back and forth, because it's like, it's not about you, you know, Danni. This is not about you as well. I mean, at all. So Andi, she's scared. She's scared that she is going to be fired. She's going to be disbarred. She's just totally afraid that, you know, her life is ruined. Now, are we supposed to feel sorry for Andi? I'm just asking. Put it in the comments and let me know. You know, I don't know. I just like, are we supposed to feel sorry for her? She played herself. Anyway, we see Danni. Danni sees a picture of the wife because she's asking, what does the wife look like? Which one is the wife? So Andi is showing her the picture. I already knew where Tyler was going with this. Anyway, so Danni says, that's not the lady that I saw at the airport. So Andi's like, that's his wife, Danni. She says, that is not the woman that I saw at the airport. Do you guys recall in the earlier episode where Danni had seen Gary and another woman? And I thought it was, I said to myself, that don't look like his wife, because she had on sunglasses and her head was down like she was hiding. And remember, Danni was about to approach Gary and who she thought was his wife. And Andi was saying, no, don't do it. That's his wife, because she saw him with another girl. That's what it was, not knowing that that was his wife. See, they do keep stuff from Danni, and she gets offended because she feels like she's on the outside, but it's not about her right now. And I'm saying to myself, what the heck is going on here? Now, I think that the wife knows who Andi is and has been playing her all along. For some reason, I really think that the wife has been playing her. And Nene Leakes said it best, close your legs to married men, child. Now, Tyler Perry has got to recognize that this storyline with Andi and Gary is his strongest plot in the show. So I really hope that he doesn't mess it up. But something seemed odd when Danni saw Gary and the girl in the airport. And that didn't look like his wife. But what I find even more weird is, remember when the wife client came to the office and she was saying, oh, we rekindled everything. And is this timer going? Okay. We rekindled everything. He took me out of town or something like that. Yeah. So listen, I don't trust the wife client. The wife client knows what's up. And I think that she is playing Andi as well. Could be wrong, but we will see. Because I was saying to myself, okay, so that's not the wife. That's not unbelievable. But when the wife came to the office and said, yeah, the wife came to the office. No, she actually didn't come to the office and say that. She just showed Andi the ring. But when she called Gary, after Danni saw him at the airport, he said he had to go out of town for work. The wife client never confirmed that they were out of town. So yeah, maybe the wife client is trustworthy. You see what happens when you talk some things out. But Royal Family, this episode was good. I had a whole conversation like y'all was sitting right here. But that's how I feel sometimes. We family, Anyway, this episode was good. If you saw it, let me know what you think. If I talk too fast and you totally missed some of the points that I made, just ask in the comments. I love interacting with you guys in the comments. I think that this is the only good episode we're going to see for the season. I don't know why. The storyline with Sabrina and Calvin, just let's stop. Like, Tyler, I don't know. This was like a film. I don't know, whatever. But like I said, his strongest plot is Danni's story, Andi's story. And maybe Danni, I want to see, let's see what's going to happen to Danni, because she's turning into, she's not funny anymore. She's not fun anymore. She's really like bitter and very mean, right? Anyway, Royal Family, that is enough. So this was SISTAS. Okay, episode 10 of season 1. So they're back. So we just have to hold out and see. Maybe this second phase of the season will get juicier, because it was a little slow in the beginning. But I see that it is, little by little picking up momentum. So Royal Family, be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the commentary. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. I definitely will meet you down there. So until next time, peace.